Hi, I've got two lads who have just been into the exhibition at the Holiday Inn in Oxford over the proposals to the new ground. I'm just going to ask them a couple of questions. Going to keep this really short. Boys, what did you think of the exhibition tonight? What do you think of the proposals, and do you think this is going to be a reality in the end?
Go for it.
Yeah, look really good, really impressive. Hopefully, a home we can be proud of.
Yeah, and I remember looking at Sandplants as a kid, and this is streets above it.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
obviously we all know what went wrong there and all the things that were promised. I think this seems a lot better thought through. They seem to have taken the community involvement around it as well. It can be a home that we can be finally proud of, and I
Yeah,
think the club deserves that after all these years.
yeah, absolutely. Yourself?
Exactly as Matt said, yeah, it looks really well thought out. They seem to have considered
Yeah. I,
everything.
I mean, when it first came out and it was 18,000, everybody who knows me, I was always looking at 18 to 20.
Yeah,
I thought it was a little bit diluted, bringing it back to 16. That could be a reason to get it through Charwell District
yeah,
Council's planning.
It'd be interesting if expansion's possible. We
Yeah,
don't want an MK Don situation where the
yeah, I know.
stadium's half empty. And
Yeah, you know, the way the club's going at the moment. You know, if we got into the championship next year, we got 11,500 stadium because
yeah,
there's always the
segregation.
segregation. But looking at where we are today, 9,500 against Bristol Rovers, which I thought was a little bit low, 10,000 against Exeter. If we got into the Championship next year, you're going to probably look at most of those clubs bringing 2,000 every single week. And if we're bringing 8 or 9,000 people, you're going to be looking at 11,000 most weeks in the Championship. So we're moving to a 16,000 capacity. One of my main moans is in the construction industry, you measure twice and cut once, and I'm wondering just a little bit, is it going to be a little bit too low for us to start with if we're in the championship and we're playing people like Norwich City, Millwall, Sheffield United, if they come back down, Sheffield Wednesday, you know, in a brand new stadium, do you think it's enough? Do you think the 16,000 is enough to initially start with?
it's a hard call to make. I think you look at the attendances historically through probably 30 years. I mean, Oxford United's probably look what around 10,000, sort of
Yeah,
going down
yeah,
across the
yeah,
years. If we drop through the leagues, etc., it's now probably sort of stabilised around 8,500. So essentially, to double that every week is a big ask. But
yeah,
you will have the sort of kick of the new ground,
yeah,
the excitement around it. If we're in the championship as well, that's
yeah, yeah,
invariably going to bring more
yeah,
people in.
yeah,
I think it's probably enough, but I think they need to be clear that if that's then consistently what we're getting, 15, 16,000, how can they expand the ground to allow it that we magically get into the Premier League? I mean, Luton did it. There's no reason Oxford United couldn't do
yeah,
it.
yeah,
How would we
absolutely.
accommodate potential expansion?
Yeah, everybody knows me. I mean, if you watch on the Oxo channel, that in the interviews that I've done, I'm always a bit of a misery over things like your capacity. Now, I know Oxford's not going to be the greatest, biggest, hugest supported team in the country, but you know, at the end of the day, I don't think 16,000 is probably enough. And looking at what we've just looked at and seen where they're going to, you know, increase this. But having said that, I'm really happy that this could be a home and something that we're really proud of. Is there anything from the plans that you'd love to see different to what you've seen tonight?
I think the sports bar being bigger. It's
Yeah,
hard to tell on the plans, but that looked
yeah, we
pretty
thought it looked a
small.
little bit small.
I'd,
Uh,
I'd want something like Shearer's Bar at Newcastle, almost the whole stand.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Really
I think you're right there.
encourage you to come in
Yeah,
before, stay
we,
afterwards.
we we went down to Bristol Rovers, Bristol City at the start of the season, and their ground has been piecemeal together quite well, and it's become a 25,000, 27,000 seat stadium. But before the game, they had all the street food bars outside. I don't know if you guys went there, did you, at the start of the year?
No,
Couldn't
no,
make
no.
that game
But we really found that was absolutely incredible. All the street food, you know, all different types of food. Looking at the ground there, the plaza area might have that type of stuff there. When people moan about the Kassam Stadium, and we go to every away match, I'm not a big fan of the Kassam Stadium, but there are things for people to do, i.e., there is food there,
Yeah.
there is something to do. We've got a bit of a gap between Summertown and Kidlington to have a drink or to have a meal or to enjoy the life of, being at a football club which has got a new stadium. Do you think things like the plaza would need things like street food there and, lots of things to keep people motivated and staying at that ground rather than disappearing into Summertown, disappearing into Kidlington, and the residents getting really shit.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
You want to make it like a community hub thing, like
Yeah,
type feel on a match day, don't you?
Yeah.
That's where fans congregate. You get
Yeah.
your food, go to your restaurant, you get your drink, you go watch the game, you come back afterwards, and you stay around it. And that then also I think keeps the money within the club as well. Not to say it's not going to be a good thing for the local economy, of course it is.
Yeah.
But it's also a revenue stream for the club that I think
Yeah.
needs to be utilised cleverly.
Try and create like a permanent, how the Priory was a few years ago. Before
Yeah,
that fell
absolutely.
apart.
Yeah,
Something
absolutely.
like that in that plaza area would be really good.
I mean, a lot of people, why this capacity went down to 16,000 from the 18 original. I think it's because this is personally my recommendation or my moan is I think they've put more hotel rooms in because every day people are going to be sitting there having revenue coming through from this, and I think they had to sort of creep back down to 16,000 to accommodate another 50 or 60 rooms, which if they're filled up, because Oxford's always having a problem with hotel rooms, it's maybe going to be the place to be. But there is a gap between Kidlington and Summertown. There is a gap between people coming in from Oxford City Station and drinking in Oxford beforehand. But I just hope we're not going to be 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the line, people saying, well, once again, it's sort of just located there doing nothing. There's nothing to do once you get to the ground. So yes, if there's a sports bar there, which is fantastic, but I think street food and other things on a plaza area to make the whole experience a little bit better than what we used to have at the Kassam. Do you agree with
Yeah, I
that?
definitely agree with
Yeah,
that.
Brilliant.
I'd agree with that.
But overall, the plans
I think
just looked amazing, didn't it?
It's such a such a difference to what we
I
have
just,
at the moment.
I just wish I was back at the age of 30, like you guys, my son. I've been sort of going up the Kassam and the Old Manor since 1967, and everybody moaned about the manor being a dilapidated old ground. So we had all the laughs and the guffaws about the manor. Then we moved to the Kassam thinking that we're really going to have something special. Then they end up just having 3 stands, and everywhere we go, all around the world, people say to me, aren't you the ground with 3 stands? And I really get sort of stressed over it. It's stupid to get stressed over it, but you fend off this silly conversation. But this time it looks like it's going to be the business. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, and it'd be ours. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
It'd be the clubs, and that's one of the biggest hindrances Oxford United has had for the last 20 years. That we don't own that stadium, and I'm glad we don't in some ways, because I think we need to get out of there and move. It is unfortunately it's dilapidated. It needs a lot of work doing to it. If it was to be took on as a stadium, which we know it can't because the landlord wants us out of there.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think the move, the modern look of the stadium, the plans look really, really good. I think they're onto a good thing with it.
Yeah, I mean, you just want it to hurry along now, don't
Yeah.
you? Really,
Yeah.
sort of to get it sort of started, and obviously with Oxford doing well this season, I'm going to ask you guys these couple of questions. Do you think we're going to go up this year on what you've seen so far?
From what I've seen this year, yes, I think we can go up. I just hope we don't do traditional Oxford United style, which is start really well and fade away, or the
What
other way.
this season?
Yeah,
or
because we've had this history. We've always done one of 2 things in the last 5 to 6 years. I've started really well and tailed off, or started really poorly and then had an
got better.
insane run from Christmas, and then you look like you're getting promoted. And we didn't happen last year. Obviously, we just about stayed up. But
Yeah, I think if I was behind the owners thing, people might say, should we engineer the move to go up the year before the ground's done? I don't think you can do that. I think you've got to take this chance.
You've got to
no,
take
you've
the
got
chance
it.
there.
Take it now.
You get 11 or 12,000 every week up there next year. You're going to sustain that, get more fans, get more people buying the shirts. And you guys live in Whitney, and obviously I live in Whitney. I have seen more and more Oxford United shirts in the last couple of months than I've ever seen before. in Whitney, in Oxford, and I think this is, with this proposal of a ground, I think this could be the time where things are going to be retail. More and more shirts are going to be seen. If they know this ground's going to come out, I think we're on to a winner. Just looking at the front of the new ground, they've got like the pillar, which sort of replicates a little bit of the old Manor Ground, if you can remember that, the entrance to the London Road. And I think that I will drive past that 3,000 times a year just to go and see it. I mean, it must be
little details
a dream,
they put in
isn't
it that show they thought about it, and
absolutely.
They've sort of personalised it, even though it is a bowl. A lot of stadiums look the same, not very personalised, but they've sort of.
So looking at the ground, this is an old one. Where would you be sitting if you're going to look for a season ticket? Where would you be looking at sitting behind the goal, or where do you guys sit at the moment?
I'm in the East Stand at the moment.
You're in the East Stand.
I like to be behind the goal.
Okay.
They haven't said where the away fans are yet, so.
Well, I've got a funny idea. I think it's going to be sort of on a corner of the slightly smaller end where the hotel is. Where do you sit?
Normally North Stand.
Yeah, well, we're North Standers. Yeah, we love the North Stand. I love the atmosphere and pulling faces at the away fans and stuff like that. At my age, unbelievable. Right, before we go, there's 2 quick questions. Where do you think we're going to end up this year?
I am going to put my colours to the mast and say we'll go up.
Go up, what? In first or second? Yeah. Second, okay. Again, I want to be first, but if not, I will take second. And if not, I'd love to take a playoff win at Wembley. This is a non-random question that I've started asking a lot of people, okay? Now, for a tenner, you can win a tenner tonight, okay? And the tenner question is, it's not a football question, and I'm going to give you a little bit of leeway. You can actually, so if I said the number's 200, you will win the tenner if you said 190 or 210. So it gives you a 10 either side. Okay, both of you together, I'm going to ask you first, though, how many puffins reside in the island of Iceland?
I'm going to say...
It's a good question, though, isn't it?
A very good question.
Yeah.
I'm going to go for a random number of 367.
1,000, or is that 367 in total?
In total.
Just 367 puffins.
Yeah, why not? Because I have no idea.
That is an absolute terrible question and a terrible answer.
But
what would you say?
19,080.
Do you know, that is really, really far from the truth. There's nearly 10 million. See you, lads.
Wow.
It's been brilliant speaking to you. All right.
Thank you
Take
very
care.
much.
Bye-bye.